Tensions between Israel and Hamas remain deadly and unresolved. But this week, a new political crack emerged, not in the Middle East, but in the United States. President Donald Trump, according to a bombshell report from The Atlantic, privately believes that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is deliberately prolonging the war in Gaza to stay in power. The revelation, attributed to two senior officials from Trump's inner circle, suggests growing frustration within the Trump camp. While Israel's military campaign in Gaza continues into its 10th month, Trump and several of his advisors now believe the main objectives have already been met, and what's left is, in their words, politically motivated. These comments arrive amid a worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and increasingly loud global criticism of Israel's tactics. Civilian casualties are high, international pressure is mounting, and even factions within the Republican Party are turning inward, questioning U.S. support for an open-ended war. The United States, under Trump's leadership, has positioned itself as a key mediator in the region, sending Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to Jerusalem just days ago. Witkoff met directly with Netanyahu, attempting to revive talks that collapsed last week. According to U.S. officials, Hamas was blamed for walking away from the negotiating table. Yet the broader picture is far more complex. Witkoff's mission isn't purely diplomatic. He's traveling to Gaza, accompanied by U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, to assess the worsening humanitarian crisis firsthand. Food, medicine, and basic supplies remain in short supply. The pair will brief Trump on the feasibility of new delivery routes and aid mechanisms aimed at stabilizing civilian life. The White House, through Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, stated the trip is about data, understanding food logistics, identifying bottlenecks, and streamlining international assistance. But behind the official line, something more critical is unfolding. A reassessment of U.S. strategy in the Middle East and a quiet shift away from unconditional support for Netanyahu. October 7, 2023, the day Hamas launched its surprise attack, is still fresh in the region's memory. Thousands were killed, hostages taken, and Israel launched its most aggressive campaign in Gaza in years. Initially, American support was rock solid, but as the months dragged on, the world, and now even parts of Washington, began asking, what's the end game? Trump's growing skepticism about Netanyahu's motives adds new urgency to that question. If the war is no longer about military necessity, but about political survival, then global leaders must ask hard questions. Who benefits from the continued bloodshed? And what will it take to force a ceasefire? For Netanyahu, his political future may hinge on the war's continuation. Faced with protests at home and investigations into his conduct, war provides a narrative of strength and necessity. But for Gaza's 2 million civilians, it means more suffering, more loss, and no clear path to peace. As Trump signals frustration and as envoys gather intelligence on the ground, a turning point may be near. But until all parties return to the negotiating table in good faith, the suffering continues, and the politics behind it grow darker by the day.